According to the National Library of Medicine on February 15th of 2023, the average screen time during the entire duration of the global COVID-19 pandemic increased by over 2.5 hours daily, and an increase starting on March 2020 of 1.7 hours daily in the first period, and on the second period it increased by 1.11 hours daily. The more people are glued to their laptops, phones, or other electronics, the less they are interacting with people face to face. The shift was not just a temporary adjustment in how people started acting, but it fundamentally altered how younger generations connect with others. Simple acts like maintaining eye contact, holding conversations, or navigating in groups have deteriorated. This leads us to discuss how abnormal the lockdown period was for society, how teenagers were specifically affected, and the long-term consequences that are usually overlooked.
During lockdown, children and young adults face significantly reduced opportunities for social interaction, which negatively affected their social cognitive development in multiple ways. In scientific reports published in September 4th, 2024, Scott et al. Found that young children tested after the pandemic showed lower false belief understanding, a key component of theory of mind, compared to those assessed before the pandemic. The researchers suggested that this decline stemmed from reduced social engagement in preschool or daycare settings and less frequent, meaningful parent-child conversations at home. With fewer chances to observe, imitate, and respond to others' perspectives, children had limited opportunities to develop the ability to understand and predict others' thoughts or emotions. Similarly, Frontiers in Psychology, published in July 15, 2024, reported that first-year college students who began their education during or immediately after lockdown demonstrated weaker emotional control and expressivity compared to pre-pandemic cohorts. These declines highlight how isolation, virtual learning, and minimal in-person contact restricted young adults' ability to navigate emotional experiences and express themselves in social contexts. Together, these finds show that the lockdown environment, though necessary for public health, created an abnormal social setting that stunted the natural development of communication, empathy, and emotional regulation skills across age groups.
Having to stay inside during lockdown saw noticeable effects on the physical development of children and adolescents. Being inside for so long promoted a sedentary lifestyle, which excluded sufficient physical activity. This idea was explored in a study performed by the National Library of Medicine, published November 25, 2021, which saw that 10% of children were perceived to have lost weight, while 41% were perceived to have gained weight. This was a result of irregular eating habits caused by disruptions in their regular lifestyle. This can lead to further negative effects down the line of development, such as continuing the pattern of weight gain or stunting the growth of a child due to malnutrition. Another major effect of lockdown was seen in the brain development of adolescents. Researcher James Goodwin described in an article published December 2, 2024, that the age-related thinning of the cerebral cortex was accelerated after lockdown, and its effects were seen more in females than in males. This is especially detrimental for children whose development was heavily dependent on social interaction, which was taken away from them. This can lead to many developmental and psychological issues, such as mental disorders like depression or social anxiety, in a time where they're already further exposed to this risk of development. Lockdown saw lasting physical effects on developing adolescents, which can be further seen in effects on their mental health.
The lockdown has had a lasting impact on teenagers' mental health, ability to socialize, and even education, effects we're still seeing today. When schools closed and in-person activities stopped, many teens lost their daily structure, their social connections, and their motivation. According to John Algrante and his colleagues at Teachers College, Columbia University, rates of depression among teens has significantly increased since the pandemic. This is largely due to the rise in social media use. What started as a way to stay connected during isolation quickly became a replacement for real interaction. As social media use went up, so did anxiety, depression, and even poor sleep. A study published in BMC Public Health found that teens today spend more time alone than those in recent years before the lockdown. That isolation weakened their social skills and made it harder for them to communicate and build relationships in person. Students who missed after-school activities or team sports have reported lower confidence in social settings, as many kids now say they'd rather text message than talk face-to-face. These shifts have had long-term effects. It's not just about missing a year of school. It's about losing experiences that shape who we are. The pandemic changed how teens learn, connect, and even see themselves. As we move forward, it's important to recognize that rebuilding these social and emotional skills takes time. Because while technology helped us get through the lockdown, it can't replace the value of real human connection.
Quarantine happens to be a very unusual experience and something society has never encountered before. It impacted people of all ages, but had a particularly long-lasting effect on teenagers. It was only supposed to be a short-term quarantine, but instead turned into months of isolation. It disrupted everyday life and activities, which left a hard impact on teenagers' mental health and social development. With in-person schooling being closed and not having face-to-face contact for a while, this played a major role in teens' emotional and social growth. People's everyday routines did a 180. Instead of seeing people in person and having face-to-face conversations, people had to socialize through their devices. Not having school or extracurricular activities, teens felt cut off from the world, and that took a big toll on their mental health. The new norms were FaceTiming, Zoom calls, and texting because it was the only real way to stay in touch with people. This type of change had long-term consequences for teenagers. They got used to communicating through devices where in-person conversations and interactions were now a challenge. They developed social anxiety and became very independent on their phone screens. This is now a habit for teenagers, and once a habit starts, it is very hard to break. Although people have moved on from the quarantine period, there are still long-term lasting effects that caused teens to feel less confident and unsure how to act in certain social situations. The time COVID was happening was a big development period for teenagers, and not having the time to develop, they now lack certain social skills. Quarantine did not just have a small effect, it changed the way teenagers see and experience life.